What's up, Small Plate Cult? Thanks so much for tuning into my second YouTube video. In this one, I'm going to show you how I personally use a whetstone. Along the way, I'm going to throw out some tips and tricks that I picked up over the years that'll get you more comfortable with using the whetstone. If you don't already know, there's tons of whetstones out there that you can choose from, ranging from different grits and all types of different brands. The stone I'm using in this video was actually gifted to me by one of my favorite sous chefs that I got to work under. Shout out Jeffrey. Thanks so much, man. I'll have this for a lifetime. Alright, let's get started. If you want, you can actually set up your whetstone and sharpen along with me. The knife I'm sharpening in this video is actually a custom Nakiri that I just finished up, and it's available only at smallplateblades.com. Pick it up today. Since this blade is freshly finished, I have no edge on it, and I'm starting off with the 1000 grit side, just putting a nice edge on it using a 15 to 20 degree angle. For Western style blades, I like to do more of a 15 to 20 degree angle. Sometimes I go a little bit shorter for my more Japanese style stuff, but this is a great angle for the perfect edge. Now it's time to flip the blade over and do the same thing on the other side. You want to apply a fair amount of pressure as you're going forward, and then as you're pulling back, you want to loosen up a little bit. As you can see here, I'm moving my fingers around on the pressure points. That it's pretty much where I want to sharpen and get that edge dialed in. I go up and down the blade, starting at the heel, going all the way to the tip. This ensures that the whole edge is exactly the same. One thing to keep in mind with whetstones is the flatness of the stone. If you stick in the middle too much like I'm doing here without flattening it, you'll create a curve in the stone and it'll essentially start to look like a half pipe, which will give you uneven edges, and you want to avoid that at all costs. One common fear with using a whetstone would be slipping. If you slip, you're going to scratch your blade up, and nobody wants that. I would recommend starting off with blades you really don't care about, maybe something that's tucked away back in your junk drawer. I know you all have something, so go take a look. Now that I'm finishing up on the left side of the edge, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and even. Going back to when I was talking about making sure your whetstone is always flat. In my hand I have a flattening stone here, and after every grit I go over top of it. I clean off the mud and then I start going in circular motions. The circular motions help you feel little pockets that are uneven and will break them down much faster. You can also go up and down and make sure you do both just so you ensure that the stone is entirely flat before moving on. This will save you headaches later and stop you from getting that curve that I was talking about. After the whetstone is nice and flat, take it over to the sink and give it a nice wipe down before moving on to your next grit. The next grit I'm using here is going to be 6000. This is the polishing phase. You want to make sure everything is nice and cleaned off, just because you don't want to have 1000 grit going onto your 6000 grit. Only reason because this is the polishing phase, and the polishing phase is when you can get a nice mirror polish on your edge. Now that we are on a brand new grit, we start the process all over. We go back to the right side, and as you can see, again, I'm holding really firmly with my right hand and using the pressure points with my left hand since I'm working on the right side of the edge. The most important part with a whetstone, especially in the polishing stage, is going exactly with the edge that you created. You don't want to start a new edge, and you don't want to go a little too short. You want to find that perfect medium so you can fully polish and get that edge exactly where you want it, so you get those perfect cuts that you need for prepping. Now it's time to flip the blade and work the other edge, just like we did on the 1000 grit. Again, make sure you're hitting all the pressure points that I was talking about, starting from the heel, going to the middle, to the tip. And you'll do this kind of frequently as you're going, just to ensure that your edge is nice and even. After I feel that my edge is nice and polished up, I like to do a couple small little runs. And this is going back to when I was talking about keeping the stone nice and flat. Here you can see I'm dragging the blade over the whole entire stone, making sure I'm using every part of it. And these little strokes right here make sure the polish is really nice, and it'll let me know if I have any scratches in there from the 1000 grit. You can check this by putting your edge up into a light and moving it around. You'll see little scratches. Scratches aren't that bad, but if you're a perfectionist like me, you want to make sure your edge is fully polished and has that nice mirror shine. I then like to go back and use the stone vertical again. This is just an extra safety step that I use since I'm actually selling my knives, and I want to make sure that I have that perfect edge for my clients. After I feel like my edge is fully polished and right where I want it, I then go back to flattening my stone out. Like I said before, you want to take care of this after every time you use it, just because it'll save you money in the long run, and you don't want to have to be getting new stones just from that caving in on you. Last but not least, clean up your mess. No one likes a slob. Stay clean. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some tips out of this. Thanks for watching.